Good evening and welcome to the latest session of our budget. We are the mayor and city council of the city of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum with council members Clay, Karn, Allen, and Gay. It is 6:34 p.m. and we are ready to start this session. I believe that we will be talking again about public safety, and I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed city manager, Ms. Darnetta Tyus.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Once again for is this our fourth?
This is fourth.
Okay, for our fourth budget briefing where we're going to complete public safety and then start with some of some of the administrative and operating things. Once again, I will just give a little clarity to the process. We will finish going through and reviewing the budget. Then we will consolidate all of the additional thoughts that we've gotten from the council in one place and then make some decisions about where those are. So we will get through today, and tomorrow being a Thursday briefing, and we'll do a consolidation and come back to you for your guidance. Remembering the theme of this budget is stabilization, meaning things that will cause us to operate more effectively, more efficiently, and deliver the kinds of services to the citizens of College Park that they deserve. So without further ado, I will give you Chief for our amazing fire chief to complete the public safety portion of this budget presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus. Good evening, Chief Elmore. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you all?
Doing well. Thanks.
Great. Yes.
So we are going to get started with fire administration. There are 3 pages to that budget worksheet. Questions on page 1?
I just had a question about the position consideration, and that person was going to do the deputy fire chief plus the management.
Emergency manager.
Emergency management.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about emergency management, what they would be doing?
Well, currently, Andrea Smalls is handling the emergency management for the city. The emergency manager coordinates between all the departments, police, fire, public works, power. Whenever there's a disaster, inclement weather that comes through, so they will coordinate between all the departments. Just making sure we have the necessary resources that's needed during those times, whether it's a tornado, flooding, things like that.
Would they be housed in your area, or with
Yes.
the space? I didn't know if you had space.
We do have space.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, when I was hired as a deputy fire chief, and but yes, we do have space over there for them.
So is this an intent to promote?
It could be a promotion. We're going to look internally and externally. So it could be one of our people may get promoted to it.
But it will, whoever it is will be doing the job that Andrea Smalls is doing now.
Not just the
No,
emergency
not
management.
just.
Yes,
But
yes.
include her job.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Other questions on page 1? Page 2?
I have a question on line 526110, other insurance, and a significant jump in that. What is involved in other insurance, Chief? I know that there's a breakdown on
Yes, I have it right here.
cancer policy. Is that the jump because it's new that we're implementing now? That's a new directive?
Well, we've been involved with we've had the cancer policy for a few years now. But in the beginning, the payments were spread out between one fiscal year and the other fiscal year. They've changed the payment now where we all have to pay it all in one fiscal year. So we had to double the amount that we've been paying, the annual payment. We had to double it. That's why it went up that amount.
So in effect, does that mean the annual insurance has doubled?
No, sir. It's still the same. But like I said, in the past, we had to pay half payment in one fiscal year, the other half was in the other. Now we have to pay them all in one fiscal year.
You pay them all in 1 year, and then you don't have to pay anything the next year.
No, we have to
Well,
pay.
you're paying half in year A.
No, that's how it was in the beginning, but they just changed it. That's why the amount, the percentage has gone up.
Here's the thing that I'm not understanding. So in year A, you're paying half of the insurance policy. You used to do that.
Used to do that,
Right?
yes.
And in year B, you'd pay the other half.
The other half, correct.
Now we're in year C, and we have to pay both halves in year C.
In year C, correct.
Does that mean then in year D, you don't have to make any payments?
No, that's an annual payment. and I
Okay,
think
so
it's-
then the payments have doubled.
No,
Well, if you used to pay half in year A and half in year B,
well, it doubles.
and,
if you
and
wanna
now
say
you're
that way.
paying both halves in year C, and come year D, you have to pay both halves again. That
Yes.
sounds to me like they've doubled the insurance.
Well, the annual amount was always the same. And if I'm not mistaken, that was, I think it was 9,000, if I'm not mistaken. It's about $9,000. But the payment is still the same. But like I said, we were just paying the $9,000 in 1 year. Whereas before, it was divided up into one fiscal year and the other fiscal year. I'm not being clear.
Oh, you're being clear, but the math just doesn't work. I mean, if you're paying $5 in year A and $5 in year B, and you've been doing that every year, so that your total is $10.
Let's see.
Now you go to year C, and you're paying $5 and $5 in year C,
Yes.
and now you go to year D, and that's $10 now in year C, not $5. And you go to year D and you're paying $5 and $5 again, that's $10. That means the premium has doubled. You're paying twice as much as you used to pay.
I think it,
No.
but if we think about it in terms of a fiscal year, and we
Correct.
use that $5 analogy, if we're paying $5 on June
That's it.
30th and $5 on July 1st, we're paying
That's it.
$10 for the year, but it's spread out over our fiscal years.
Yes,
And so instead of paying 5 and 5, we're paying 10 at once.
at once, correct. Yes.
So the payment was essentially doubled up in this year, but we'll see that same $10 payment
Next year,
in the next year.
yes.
Does that make sense?
So,
I was thinking $5 a year, but so
But
it's
you're-
$5 for half a
But
year.
it's been $5 every fiscal year, and this time they
This
paid
fiscal
the
year.
entirety of it in
In
one
one year.
fiscal year.
but whether
So-
it's a fiscal year or a calendar year, if you're paying half in 1 year and half in the next, what you're saying is you're paying half again at the end of the year. So you're really paying two halves each year. It's just that the premium is split differently. I hear what you're saying. You're not paying twice as much, but you're actually making two payments in a given fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
One at the beginning and one in the end?
Correct.
Okay.
That way.
And that's this is the only year that we
Gee,
should
I'm
see
sorry.
that. Yeah, they've changed the timing
Yeah,
of it.
it's spread out.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
I had a question on line 526220, and was wondering if what we've got budgeted is realistic based upon the actuals from this year.
What line is that, Mayor?
526220, subscriptions and publications.
Yes, that's for our fire marshal, and that is the Georgia criminal codes and the NFPA codes.
Sure, I saw that, but, I mean, we've spent nearly $4,000 when we had 17, or almost 1,800 budgeted. So, given what was spent in this fiscal year, does that 1,787 still make sense? Or is it, or are we gonna see a fairly large overage as well in fiscal '23?
You know, about
And if that's the case, then
shouldn't.
do we just need to adjust?
We shouldn't have to adjust with that. We
Oh,
can leave
okay.
it like it is. Yes. Okay. Yes, we're good.
What's the, I'm sorry.
She's,
Good evening.
Good evening.
We actually budgeted for it in the suppression budget. So what happened this year was the positions that we were allowed to fill, we had to purchase the training textbooks for the new recruits.
Okay.
So that's what the overage is for, and so we're going to account for that in the suppression budget coming
Okay,
up.
understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions on page 2? Moving to page 3. We've got 4 pages of the budget transaction report on the budget level. Page 1 of 4, questions?
I'm good in general.
Moving on to page 2. Page 3. Page 4.
I just had a question on the 3 vehicles that we're replacing. Is there any chance we can reuse those, or is the maintenance just so much that?
Yes, that's those, the Crown Vics, and, you know, they're not making those anymore. And as a matter of fact, I know 2 of them for sure. One, I think it's transmission. The other 2, the lights on the dash, it's electrical problems. All the lights up when you start the car. So,
I didn't know if we could move parts and put together a car that we could use there somewhere else. Probably not. It wouldn't be worth it. Okay.
yes.
All right, so we're moving on to fire suppression. Question on page 1.
Chief, any idea how many vacancies you've got overall, or just,
Currently, we have, I think it's 1 vacancy, and I think we had 4 that were frozen. If they are unfrozen, that's 5 vacancies we have.
okay.
On line 51, 5020, salary overtime, you sure 150K is going to be enough? I know COVID had us working a lot of overtime, but are we okay now that we can scale it way back to 150?
I would say 200 could probably would help, because we are hiring. We had a lot of vacancies plus COVID. Now I think we've just about filled all of our positions except 5, and I would say about 200,000 would suffice.
Oh, I don't know. So you'd like 200K instead of 150K?
Yes, for overtime.
Chief,
What do you think, City Manager?
I think that as we discussed that number, we were contemplating unfreezing all of the positions that he had frozen. And the thought was that we could do it at 150, but if the council, we'll add that extra 50 to the list, if you all are requesting.
okay,
I just don't want to be surprised.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm not looking to spend more money. I just don't
So
want us to fool ourselves.
you said you got 5 vacancies thereabout. Is that including the frozen positions, or are those the frozen positions which are now going to
The
be
5
unfrozen?
are including the 4 frozen positions.
Okay.
That'd be 5.
So, let me ask you this, I guess. What can we do in your budget that would help you get those folks hired? I guess maybe that's a better question.
Well, as a matter of fact, we just hired, I think 6 about a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so we're in the process of getting the people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So
Now, you know, with the training, it takes about a year for
A
them to
year?
get trained. Yes. It's 3 months, 3.5 months for the fire training, and it's about 8 months for the EMT training.
Okay. So how many of those 5 are EMTs? Are they all going to get EMT training?
They
too,
all
or
will
what
need
happened?
EMT training, yes.
I'm sorry. Yes?
They will need EMT training.
Okay, so all 5 get that, and it'll be a year before they come on to be able to work with us?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So these are newbies without,
Then
EMT certs and all of that?
No certification, yeah. We've been advertising for certified firefighters, but we just hadn't gotten any.
Is that who I've been seeing run around the track in the morning?
Yes,
I thought so.
that's correct.
And on 5010, let me bounce back up to that again, the operating salary, that figure includes the ones that were frozen that are no longer frozen? Oh, okay.
Additional questions on page 1? Moving to page 2.
I have a question on line 537070, down near the bottom, firefighter supplies. Lord knows we want to make sure our guys are well supplied, but why the big jump?
What line, I'm sorry?
Firefighting supplies, about the 5th line from the bottom.
537070.
In
Okay.
2021, we spent 6,500,
But then you got the.
Yes,
and you had 8,000, and then now you want 36,000. And I could understand if supplies equal people, but supplies are, I'm assuming these aren't supplies like one thing per person, are they?
they're not, no. It's fire hose, we have gas monitors, nozzles, pipe poles, a lot of the equipment that we use. And over the last 3 or 4 years, we hadn't been able to order those because we had
So
to reduce budget.
you've just been
We're trying to get back up.
economizing over the years and things
Yes.
have worn out.
Correct.
Okay.
Chief, under line 537050, medical services and supplies, I see the request was for $10,000, but we're already with basically 3/4 of the fiscal year done at $10,000.
Okay.
So
Repeat that line.
537050.
Just above the line we were on.
Medical service supplies?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, essentially what that number is saying to me is that you're anticipating using fewer medical services and supplies. Is that accurate?
Maybe less COVID.
Yeah, right, you're right.
Yeah, but
But that still
I
seems,
think you're gonna need more, but it looks like you'd need more logically, but I don't know if,
Well, that's for drug screens and pre-hire physicals, correct? Yeah,
I'm sorry, say, I
oh,
can't
this
hear
is
you
for
in the mic.
employee drug screens
Drug
and
screening,
pre-hire
yeah.
physicals?
that's what it
Okay.
is.
This is just public, this is for staff. here.
Correct,
Yeah.
Okay.
correct.
Where's your medical supplies for the public in general, for the trucks and the
I think
stuff?
we have
Where
another
is that
line
stuff?
here in suppression, and we also have one in EMS.
Is that
You said it's
rescue
under
supplies?
Rescue
maybe?
Suppression?
537130.
You said it's under suppression?
It's in both.
We have them in both.
Yeah, I'm saying 537130, rescue supplies might be some of it.
No, that's for more
Oh,
equipment.
that's really rescue. That's like,
Rope?
no, that's like salvage covers, windshield cutters, and chainsaws.
Yes,
Okay, and rope.
Yeah, okay.
ropes could be in there also.
Okay.
Still on page 2 of 3, questions and additional questions on that page?
No.
Moving to page 3.
I guess excuse me, let me jump back to page 2. You know, when you're talking about 7121 computer hardware, it looks like you held off last year as well.
We did, yes.
On page 3, line 537161, on protective clothing, are we anticipating spending more because we've got new recruits?
121, protective clothing. No, I think we accounted for those positions.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions on page 3?
Oh, good.
Moving to the budget level, page 1. Moving to page 2.
Nothing on 2.
Page 3.
Nothing on 3.
And page 4.
Nothing.
All right, moving on to fire EMS.
So how many people are in this budget? Is this just one person?
Just one person. That's Division Chief Ron Taylor.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions on page 1?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're interested.
No, go ahead.
Line 52, 57, 20, communication equipment. I have a guess as to what that might be, but it says, in the detail, it says that it, defibrillator support needs. We just bought a bunch of defibrillators, if I recall, over the last couple or 3 years. And I'm going to take a wild guess. Is this possibly the communication link to link the defibrillator results? I mean, it's also an EEG, isn't it, Chief? The defibrillator will also do your ECG or EKG?
EKG, that's, yes.
Okay, and I'm guessing, is this the possible adaptation for 5G to communicate? I don't know what it communicates over. I don't know whether it uses the Motorola system or whether it uses cellular. That was my speculation, but I thought there's a big chunk in there for that.
That's the life back, yeah.
And I lost the line that you were asking. Which line is that? 50?
52, 57, 20, right about in the middle of page,
Page 1.
page 1 of 3.
52, 57, 20. Yeah, that's for the Life Pack 12, or Life Pack 15. That's for the support.
So what, we already have the defibrillators.
Yes, but they were new when we first purchased them, but
Right.
the warranty's out. This is for the warranty. On
This is for the
on all
warranty
5.
on 'em.
Yes.
Okay. So those guys, do they communicate over the Motorola link or do they communicate over the, over cellular? Do you
It's
know?
over cellular.
Over cellular?
Yes. To communicate with the hospitals.
So we're digressing, I'm digressing a little bit, but are you under any threat of having to change out some things because of the change to 5G? Because I know alarm systems are changing out, and I know some medical systems are changing out as a result of 5G, because they're eliminating 3G, for example. They used to communicate that way. And EEG is a low bandwidth transmission. In other words, it doesn't have to have a super fast link. So it could very possibly be riding on 3G,
Okay.
and you may experience a need to change. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
We'll look into that.
Any other questions on page 1?
Yeah, 50, 52, 55, 12, Medical Services Director. You know, one of the things I thought every year that we were kind of missing in a sense, and I consider it kind of an elephant in the room, so to speak, medical in general with the fire department. You know, a majority of our city includes, you know, multiple low-income communities. You know, our health outcomes, you know, in part are due to limited medical access and, you know, but limited knowledge of what healthy lifestyles look like. The fire departments that I see in Fulton County, DeKalb County, and all over, technically speaking, are not really truly fire departments, because 80% of the calls are not calls for fire. They're calls for medical emergencies. And we put this budget together to direct resources towards where the resources are needed for residents at the end of the day. 80% of our calls are medical calls, 20% are fire. I don't think we look at what we're servicing and where some of the needs are. And we never put anything in this budget to address the medical concerns. I look at South Fulton Hospital, Wellstar closing up now. No more emergency room there, no more hospital beds there. East Point's not happy. I'm not happy as a city of College Park. I've heard the mayor of East Point making a big fuss about it. I think we ought to be too, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And this type of stuff only happens in black communities where you would close a hospital that important when you have the world's busiest airport, which is South Fulton being the designated emergency hospital for Hartsfield-Jackson, closed. You have the second largest convention center in the state, 60 hotels between here, East Point, and Hapeville, and the hospital's closed. I wouldn't see that anywhere in any other urban setting. I don't think it would make any sense, even if it wasn't about the local residents. I'd like to, and I talked about establishing some type of outreach programs, educating residents on preventative care, healthy behaviors, promoting lifestyle changes, because the need is there, obviously. And in terms of a budgetary perspective, Chief, give me an idea in terms of medical, in terms of fire suppression, what we're looking at overall.
I would say 75 to 80% of the medical calls we respond to are emergency medical calls. The types of calls that we respond to are obesity, diabetes, stroke, cardiac arrest, cardiac problems, congestive heart failure, high blood pressure. Those are some of the main types of calls that we respond to. And talking about a program like that, I know there are a few programs like that, community health programs, where they would take it, hire a physician or a nurse to manage the program like that, just to provide health assessments in various communities.
Well, my thinking was this. We put this budget together for residents, for the residents' needs. I don't think there's one budget, and I don't want to say that ignores residents' needs as much, but I guess you could consider it an oversight. I mean, the fire department, you think about fire, but 80% of our department is medical. So in one sense, you can say it's a medical department just as much as a fire department, 80%, 20%. We just had the AARP folks in here yesterday talking about how our population is aging and that there are going to be more seniors, 60 plus, as the years go by. And in terms of our expenditures here, it's about the same. 20% medical, 80% fire suppression and staff apparatus. Whereas the calls are the direct opposite. 80% medical and 20% fire. So, I'd like us to look at some funding and figure out some type of programs where we can promote an obvious problem in our community that I don't think we're overlooking on purpose, but I think we need to take a look at it, and that means putting some money where the needs are. And I'd like to see some funding go towards Chief coming up with some type of a program and bringing it back here that the residents would really appreciate, that would save some lives and obviously save us some money if 80% of our calls are medical emergency calls. And I just didn't see anything addressing that, and I haven't seen that in any of our budgets. And again, you learn stuff as you go on, as the years go on. I turned 50 last year, and I said, and my doctor told me that I wasn't under warranty anymore. And, it's just something I think we need to look at, and I'd like to put a number in here in this budget to show that we're committed to, that we even see the problem.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about some of the services that your department offers in terms of resident health and wellness?
As far as for the community,
Yes, sir.
I know we offer CPR, free CPR to the community, free blood pressure checks. If a citizen wants to come to the station to get their blood pressure or get an EKG done, we could do that. I think that's about it as far as what we offer.
I noticed you had in here as part of the objectives, maintain effective public information systems and getting with the schools, educational programs. So I guess you could turn that more into a program where you could help out a lot.
And I think that there's other community resources available to form partnerships, and if there's opportunities to look into that, that'd be great. But I think I want to make sure that we are sticking to what we've got in front of us. Are there additional questions on page 1?
Well, we're talking about what's in front of us. And what's in front of us, in addition to this budget, is a health crisis in this city that I don't think needs to be ignored, swept under the rug, or passed on to some other agency.
Understood, sir. We are working on the line item. Do you have a question on line 52, 55, 12?
I'm speaking on it right now.
What is your question?
Medical services.
What is your question?
It's not a question. I'm going to finish my statement. I don't think this is something that we hand off to somebody else to figure it out. We put money into this budget to help residents. It's obviously a health issue. Now, I talked to the chief about some potential stuff, and he had some ideas. I know he asked for some funding for this, and he wasn't able to get it. I think he needs to get it. I think everybody in our community in all wards would appreciate something like this, because everybody's been touched by some health issues here. And health gets worse and worse as time goes on. It seems like it's hard out here, and it's hard to find good health. Most of our residents live in food deserts. We got convenience stores all over the place.
Councilman, what is your proposal? If you want to put in something in the budget, what is your proposal?
Chief, what did you propose? And I understand you brought this up with the city manager. What did you propose?
With the program, I proposed that was $25,000, I think.
And what was the program, Chief?
It was a program similar to what I just discussed, having either a nurse practitioner, or physician assistant that would go throughout, it would be part-time, but they would go throughout all wards. They would educate the citizens. I know we have a large senior population, but educate them on taking the medications, educate them on the importance of getting an annual physical, and educate them on nutrition to try to prevent some of the diseases we see that we respond to.
And the logic of that would be that if we can train them to be healthier and not let their blood pressure go skyrocketing or their blood sugar go way up, then you have fewer calls. So in theory, you might actually get a return on that investment that would save money elsewhere.
And council member and council, let me do reality check. Reality check. $25,000 for a live person to engage with residents associated with health issues is not worth the help. Is not worth the liability of us sending somebody out, coaching a private resident on how to take their medicine. If you're going to invest in that, $25,000 is not realistic. You're going to have to do something much heavier. What I would rather see us do, some things you do have to, you don't pawn it off to another agency, but you take advantage of the agencies that exist. The Fulton County Health Department is 3 blocks from here. I would propose that we do a much better job of partnering with people whose mission is community health, partnering with them to make sure that our residents are serviced, because it's hard for us to do a credible job of that, given that that's not our mission. It should definitely be our interest. So if you told me we had attempted to partner with the Fulton County Health Department 3 blocks from here, if you told me we had exploited that relationship fully and we were still failing, then I would say we should consider it. But I think the first step should be to partner with the resources that exist for that. The liability associated with a $25,000 person part-time.
Well, my thought was not a $25,000 part-time
But you asked
person.
what the chief asked for, and so given that that's what he asked for, it was easy to, given that that's what the request was, it was easy to say no to that.
Here's my request, and here's my suggestion. And I know a little something about that health department in terms of how much help we're gonna get there.
I don't know that, okay.
Well, I do. Here's my suggestion, and here's what I saw. I don't think $25,000 is enough to do some of the things that, in my head, what I see is this city's absolute responsibility to help promote a healthy lifestyle and healthier choices in this community for the residents that pay their tax money to the city of College Park. Yes, this is a fire department, but if 80% of all activities are health issues and lifestyle issues, basically, I think we need to look at putting some funds and money towards the overwhelming majority of the problems and issues that the fire department is dealing with. I see in my mind, in our communities, lifestyle choices, bulletins, about healthy diets. Eat this, more of this, not that. We've got a lot of young parents here that I see in our community, starting out kids at a young age. And I'm in my apartment communities, and sometimes I cringe. I'll see young mothers taking their babies out there in their strollers, and you look at the baby bottle, and you'll see, obviously, it's Coca-Cola in the bottle. And I just cringe to myself, and I just say, it's education and awareness. Education and awareness, and a little bit of help with that in terms of some materials going out. We have a television station where we could help promote some of these things. If people are aware of some of the consequences of what they're doing in some of these things, because we bear the brunt of the results. I'd like to see some funding and figure out what kind of programs we have. If it's not a medical advisor or someone coming in with health tips, that's a doctor, but not doing liability checkups on people. Health tips. Here's what you can do to help yourself. Here's what we can do to help our community in terms of healthy, walking, exercises, different things we can do. I talk about parks and recreation not having activities and awareness in our apartment communities, for instance, knowing that there are some programs going on, promoting our fitness center. A health initiative. That's my point. I'd like to see us put some money in this budget towards figuring that out, putting it on a workshop, and seeing what we can come up with. Technically, we have a city physician. Maybe they could help us out and give us some suggestions and direction on that. So that's what I see spending some money on, and I don't think $25,000 is enough. I'd like to see maybe $50,000 earmarked for something along those lines. And let's sit and talk and figure out what it is, so we'll let people know we understand the health disparities in this city, and we recognize them, and we're concerned about it, and we want to spend some of their money to help our residents. So I don't think it's liable at all. We manage it the right way, and we do it the right way, and we follow the lead of the experts, and we talk about it, but we commit some money towards an obvious problem that we're largely ignoring and responding to after the fact. I'm talking about preventative funding. Same thing we do in the police department, preventative.
I think we can all support the idea of preventative care and education.
Yeah, something.
I think that is something that is sorely in need in our community and others. What I'm unclear about is the best way to tackle that, whether that is our department moving forward with that or figuring out what some of the other resources may be that exist with whom we can partner to further these
I agree.
efforts.
I don't know how.
And
we
that's
tackle
what
it,
I
so-
like to
And so
pursue.
what I
We
was,
need
what
to
I
put
was
the
saying
funding
was,
towards it
what I think
and
what we
then
should
talk
do
about
is
it.
try to have an opportunity to give staff a chance to flesh this out for us.
Absolutely.
To talk
But we
about,
need to
instead
earmark
of,
some funds
instead
for
of,
it.
instead of sitting here and picking a number out of the sky about how much it might or might not take, why don't we get the opportunity to figure that out? If this, I mean, if this is a priority for this council and this city, we can certainly make a budget adjustment in regard to that once we have a better understanding of what it might take and the resources that exist, not only within our units, but elsewhere in the community. So
Noted.
why don't we give staff an opportunity to research that and come back and report to us at a workshop?
And Mayor, I would think that, what I was hearing is that maybe the best role we play is a facilitation role.
Exactly.
Right.
And that gets to the city manager's point of liability and what have you. But how to dedicate some personnel to facilitate connecting to the, just like we do with Ignite, for example, connecting it to services for food and so forth. Maybe it's a matter of how we can connect take advantage of the educational services offered by the county health department, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
That would be a primary role that I would think.
And we would love to look into the opportunities to partner with organizations, institutions, and agencies
Okay.
whose mission is help.
I'm okay with that, but I
We
want
agree.
to
So-
do a little more than look into it. I want us to make an effort towards better health outcomes in this community and a serious effort towards it. I think it would cost some money to do that at some point on our part. And,
I
but
think we all
let's
agree
look
with
at
that.
it. But I want us to not just take a look at it. I want us to really commit to doing something and let the community
Okay.
know we see it.
It could be a health workshop or something
Yeah.
like that, along with partners and so forth.
Well,
Yeah.
what are the,
I think
somebody
we all,
needs to look in
in
what
the
the
words of
resources
Ambrose
are
Clay-
available that we can tap into. And
Exactly.
I think that's what the
All right?
I
city manager was
think
saying.
we all violently
Yes.
agree on this. Are there other
Okay.
questions on page one?
All right.
I think we need
No.
to get back to the budget. We
All right.
all know where we're going here.
Page two. Budget transaction report, page one. Page two. Chief,
Moody's repair, can Moody repair the vehicles that they have for EMT?
The ambulances, they can, some, but fire trucks, they can't.
Well, do they still, didn't they do something minimum with the fire trucks, like the tires or something?
Tires,
I thought it said-
routine maintenance.
not even brakes. As a matter of fact, they needed a emergency vehicle technician over there, and I think Ken is the only one that's certified as an emergency
Because of the
vehicle
size.
Now,
technician.
I used to see some of our engines in the bays at times over the
Yeah,
years.
what we normally do, we'll take it over there to them, and then they'll make arrangements, so, to outsource.
Okay.
But they can do things like change the oil, right?
Yeah,
The
they-
air filter and muffler.
Okay.
That's about
You
it.
know, when I saw a picture of the footprint of that building, the new one that they were building, I thought to myself, I think they said like 900 square feet or something, and I said to myself, well, can the smaller engines even fit in there, or, it just made me wonder, but that's a.
Chief, thank you so much.
And as the chief departs, we were asked to give an update on the impact of Wellstar leaving. On Thursday of this week, chief and all the chiefs from all of our surrounding jurisdictions will have a meeting where they're going to come back to us with a coordinated strategy. So we'll get back to you on that.
And I think there's going to be some conversation at the Board of Directors meeting for Aerotropolis Atlanta as well,
Okay.
and that's on Friday.
Thank you, chief.
Welcome.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
And now we're going to move
Electric.
to power. Good job.
Is that it?
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Richardson.
evening.
How are you?
Hey, Hugh.
Doing good, good.
Electric Power Fund, the first page. Questions on page 1 of 5.
I have a revenue question.
Okay.
319110, penalties on delinquent, I assume delinquent payments. We had a 2022 actual of 120,000, so maybe we might get 140,000.
That's page 1 of 5, line 319110.
How is it that we're still planning on getting $450,000 of revenue from delinquent payments?
My answer to that, and Althea can probably answer it too, but they're ramping up the penalties. For a long time, we didn't do any penalties at all, and we're getting back out of the pandemic stage for penalizing. I mean, years ago, that number was $1 million. So this is, I guess, a slow ramp.
So you think now it's realistic?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I have another one on miscellaneous income, line 34, 1900, same page, about 2/3 of the way down.
Yes, big number.
Yeah, in this budget, we're going to assume that the data center is going to do one more expansion near Edison. The data center is going to do one more expansion near Edison substation. And we have revenue in for that, and we have expense out for that, so it's a washout. If they don't do it, it doesn't change the budget at all, because they'll pay for everything up front.
You mentioned the data center?
Yeah, the current data center, the
one down
Clean
in
Spark,
Guyman.
Clean Spark. Yeah.
Is that the one that used to be the not the virtual?
Yeah, it used to
Citadel?
be that, that's right.
Now it's, what is it called?
Now
It's Clean Spark.
Clean Spark.
They got
Right.
two other names, but that's the main umbrella
It's
company.
primarily data mining.
I know they use a lot of
I mean,
electricity, right?
Blockchain.
Oh, yes, I use more than the city uses right now.
Yeah, we gotta get a few more of those in here.
I just have a quick question. At 344330, it says sales to the convention center. Does that include the arena as well?
Yes, it does. And I'm assuming that number is what matches their expense that they have.
Any other questions on page 1?
No federal grants?
Yeah.
You,
Okay.
I noticed over at the convention center, we got some of those lights, I guess, that we were testing out that are still purpling out.
Yeah,
And,
they're scheduled to be replaced. We just got to get it scheduled when there's not a lot of cars parked in there. When they're ready to go.
Okay,
They're under warranty, so. Yeah.
all right.
Moving on to page 2.
No.
Grounds includes that's your tree trimming and,
That's correct.
Now, is that obviously, you mean just for your office there across the street there, or is that also your warehouse there?
No, the grounds is just tree trimming with our contract.
Oh, the
crew.
tree trimmers
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah.
okay, right.
Additional questions on page 2?
I have a question on page 2. Where will the linemen be in the salary? What page?
I'm sorry, Councilman Gay, can you make sure that you're close to your mic?
Yeah.
I didn't hear your
Where?
question.
Where will the lineman's salary be?
They're embedded in the salary and operating expense. They're in the total there on 5010.
On this page we on now?
Yes, page 2.
Line 51, 5010?
So is this the right time to talk about, well, let me see what you increased. Did you increase?
I didn't make any proposals in there. This is all generated by finance and HR, I guess.
A city manager, I would like to put in the consideration chart an increase for the linemen, a 20% increase for the linemen when we do our consideration.
That's four linemen, 4 groundmen, and 1 electrical technician is 9 people.
So I would like to add to our list of considerations when we discuss an increase for those 8 positions, please.
9.
9.
Yeah.
20% discussion, 20%? 20%.
Oh, I wrote that down.
Oh, you,
I wrote it down and I'm
did you hear the 20%?
I did.
It's, okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any sort of salary study that indicates that they're underpaid?
Yeah, they're gonna quit.
Well,
Already indicated that the linemen are gonna walk off.
let me comment on that,
Aye.
if you would. I don't think our linemen are going to just up and leave one day. They're getting other offers, and they may leave. But let me give you a comparison. I did a APPA survey for linemen in this area and I compared the EMCs and Georgia Power. Our guys are about 30% under the average. And let me give you another comparison. We have contract linemen. Now, we don't pay them benefits, but if you factor out their benefit, what would be a benefit, their hourly rate was still 24% higher than what our guys are paid. So if they were to leave, we would just bring in more contractors at 24% higher, and that's before the RFP that's going out now, which they're probably going to go up too. So that's the key. We got some very loyal men. I mean, they really want to stay here, but they've been given all these offers, so it's.
Yeah, I heard that they've been given a lot of offers.
Yes.
And we have directors who've been given offers, and we've had to give them more money to keep them. So as part of this budget, it's my duty to use my voice to ask for that to be discussed, because they play an integral part to our city, and we do not want to have an opportunity that there be a problem with our linemen.
And let me do one caution. There are many titles in this city and positions, all of which I'm going to tell you 100% of all of the staff in this city, even after our increase, are going to be underpaid, associated with some standard. I am going to hesitate to be found being responsive to threats of mass quitting or anything like that as the basis for how we administer this process.
I respect
That is dangerous. And not just you. I'm just saying that is a dangerous process and a dangerous practice to start. We should look at everybody and be fair. We've taken a deep dive look to make sure that everybody in this city gets some increase. So I get it, and it's hard to prioritize, because there's a group that's very important to me that I could say give them 20%. And I'm not sure what that means in the scheme of things. Now, for whatever this council instructs, we'll go and take a look. All I'm going to say is be careful of the reasons why we do that. It's kind of like putting a gun to your head, and you give everybody that gun at the point where we publicly say, the reason I did that was because they threatened to quit.
Well,
I'm just saying, not just you.
No,
I'm just saying across the board.
Right.
Okay.
So let me rephrase it. I think the director was able to articulate it a lot better. I was just trying to be a little bit profound. But even yourself made a proposal to us that you would want more money to come here. And even a couple of our directors that just came said they were called by the other city that if we didn't pay them more money, they were going to go back. So in those scenarios, I think the linemen, there's an opportunity to discuss the importance of paying them, not as a threat, but as a negotiation to try and get paid more. What I would consider, and you and I talked about this, when you ask for 20%, when you ask for a bond to give our police officers more money.
I don't think we asked for a bond to give the police
I
officers
think we
more
did
money.
a bond for.
We did not.
No, sir, we did not. Not for
Whether we
salaries.
did a bond or not.
Oh, okay.
I'm part of a process of a budget. I didn't know my job in the last 8 years was to debate with you about who we should pay. I thought we were the body that was supposed to talk about the budget.
Councilman Gay, please focus on the budget itself.
I thought that we were part of the discussion that we're supposed to talk about how, I mean, that's what I've done for the last 8 years. This is my first time debating about who to give money. And so if it pleases the council, it certainly pleases me. I want them to be considered. Because if they were to quit and you have to pay a contractor, then we'll be back at the same place.
Right.
Councilmember, I wrote that as a note like I did everything else. I was just trying to bring balance, and I think that you pay me, as you all allude to all the time, I think you pay me to be responsive and responsible associated with the balance and the operations of the city. I intend to do that, and I was just providing clarity, not a debate. And I wrote it down. I had it 20%.
You make those arguments selectively. You don't make those arguments with some of the other budget. You didn't make that argument.
And what we are not going to do is get into an argument about the arguments.
You didn't make that argument about.
No, Councilman Kay, we are gonna focus on the actual budget. Your request has been taken down, and it will be listed with everything else. Do you have any other questions and any other line items?
But the other thing is, we're paying you to be a facilitator.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you trying to move us
sir,
on,
and I'm
but at
glad
the
you
same
appreciate
time,
that.
I appreciate the
Do you
same
have any
time.
questions on any other line items
So
on line 2?
You can continue to be a facilitator, okay?
Do you have any
But at the
questions
same
on
time,
page 2?
I finish talking when I finish talking.
Do you have any questions on page 2? We're not going to get into an argument about arguments. Do you have any questions on page 2?
I think we need to get back to the budget. We're gonna be looking at that, so.
Any other questions on page 2?
Hugh, so you are saying that they're about 30% under?
Yes, that's the current APPA survey.
Now, I'm not a big fan of contracts and contracting out stuff. I think the more we slowly contract out bits and pieces of our departments, the less accountability it leads to directors and staff in general. If you don't, I just don't like to see us going in that direction. So if it is something that we can do, let's take a look at that.
Sure.
We look at every department and all staff. I'm very concerned with staff. That's why I had HR pull up the information at the meeting to see where we are with staffing. Yeah, it's something we need to look at.
Any other questions on page 2?
I'd just like to add a comment, Mayor, that I think that we've given input. I'm following up on what you said. And I think, though, that the city manager has to address all the hot spots in the organization. And I'm certainly concerned about power. I'm concerned about public safety. But I'm also concerned about a whole bunch of other things as well in the budget. And it's up to the city manager to equalize that budget across the organization and address all of those issues. And that's what we hold her accountable for. And if all of a sudden we end up with a whole bunch of linemen quitting on us and we have a tornado or something and we don't have linemen, then we hold her accountable for that. But it's her job to take all these things into account. Now, if we have some special information, as Councilman Gay did, that, he's talked to some people and he's more concerned, I don't know, I haven't, but if I had something on, 911 operators, well, we don't want to have no 911 operators, so I could bring that up. But we can't go through and just from here say, well, we ought to jack this one up. It has to all be taken in context. And I think that's the job of the city manager to do. So
I think it's the job of not just the city manager, but the department directors, the finance directors.
Amen.
If what we're doing up here is not making a change in the budget, then I don't need to come here.
Councilman, your proposal has been taken into
Lady,
account.
nobody's talking to you right now. I'm making a statement.
I
If
understand,
don't
but
have
we need to
come
move
here- if
forward.
We don't have to come here
Does
to make-
anyone have any questions on
You get
page
off on-
2?
You get off on interrupting me, Bianca.
Does anyone have any questions
grief.
on page 2? And by the way,
You
it
can't
is
interrupt
it is
people.
Mayor Motley Broom to you,
Whatever,
sir.
whatever.
Does anyone
Whatever.
else have any questions
Whatever.
on page 2 out of 5?
You get treated the way you treat people, and it's gonna get worse. if
And
you
moving
keep
on to
interrupting me,
page 3.
All right? If you keep interrupting me, it's gonna get worse.
Any questions on page 3?
You continue interrupting, you're gonna be downtown.
The consulting fees,
What line is that?
5510, 5510?
Yeah, I think what jumped that up is I have added in a outage management system that I want to present to y'all probably in August or September. It's something I've been looking at for several years. I think it's $155,000. I put it in that section, may not need to go in there, but it needs to go somewhere. I think we need to look at it seriously. Most of your progressive utilities have this in place, and just I'll present it later on in the year.
What is this,
Basically, it tracks our outages. It prepares a citywide map and lets our citizens know where the outages are at, and kind of updates it on everything, and gets our reports. Right now, we keep outages on a timesheet. I mean, the old-fashioned way. So this is more of a structured way to keep up our outages and where they are and track
so
them.
it's not a real-time system?
It is real-time. It takes our meter outages, plots them on the map, and a citizen can use an app to track where the power outages are at.
And then you send out crews to those areas that are most
Yes.
critical or most quickly contained or
Yes.
something along those lines? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on page 3?
Line 526170, Contractual Services.
Yeah, most of that is our smart meter system. It includes adding more meters, and we got basically 1,000 on order. It may take up to a year to get them, so we're not taking any chances. We got 1,000 on order for our upcoming expansions.
Okay, now, is this the same with the
Yeah.
residential meter conversion, or is that?
Yeah.
That's
It's residential too, yeah.
ongoing with
Yeah.
that? Okay, I know we were doing that when I left here.
Yeah, we're
and,
in
it's a
fifth
big
year now.
project, huh? Also, line 526590, contingencies.
Yeah, that's a balancing act.
Yeah, so what is?
That's what finance puts in to balance out our budget to zero after
Okay.
revenue. So that's an excess in revenue is basically what that is.
One thing I did want to.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yes.
You gotta put an asterisk by it.
Right. Well, hopefully we won't need it, huh? I wanted to ask about, I know, a few years ago, we sold one of our substations back to, MEAG.
We sold 3 of them.
And I often wondered about that. I said to myself, is that a trend going on where they're buying back from the independent municipalities? And what's been, I often wondered, obviously if they're asking for some of our infrastructure, it's gonna serve somebody's advantage. They're not taking it off of our hands and taking on a liability, obviously. So I just wonder, have you seen any overall results of that in terms of?
That was probably one of the best decisions we ever made. And what started that was there were some small cities in the state that don't have the resources to manage and maintain their stations. So they offered to buy them from them. But in doing so, they went ahead and put the offer out to all the cities in Georgia. So most of them, just about all of them, have sold back to MEAG Power. They maintain them, they look after them, they monitor them for us. We pay a circuit fee in our bill, but it turned out to be a great decision.
So it's advantageous to us.
Oh, yes, very much.
I just worry about something. If they're doing something statewide, I say to myself, well, I worry for the other shoe to drop. The next legislative session, here comes a state law that we say, aha, that's why they were buying all these outfits.
No, there's no underlying reason on this, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions on page 3? Page 4?
So, solar power purchases, do we still have that, I think it was like is this the power that you can purchase that was generated via solar power with the 5% bump thing? Is that,
No,
is that
this is solar, excess solar generated by some of our customers. They have panels on their homes, so if they generate excess power, then we will buy it back from them. And that's what that line item is.
Okay, okay. But do we still have that option of the green power option?
Yes, we do have that, and Woodward Academy is the biggest buyer of that. So, yeah.
How's that thing going?
It's going good. I mean, they're still purchasing it. I think we have an office on Global Gateway that's purchasing it, but they're doing it mainly to get the LEED certification.
Right. Okay.
Other questions on page 4? Page 5?
What is page 4, 7091, road signs and delineators?
Basically, that's maintenance and repair of our traffic signals, and pedestrian buttons and things like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right, got it, okay.
Page 5?
Street lighting, looks, I noticed those blinking lights on Camp Creek for a few weeks going on.
Yeah, we got those. It was a wiring connection that we repaired, so yeah.
I was wondering what that was. So,
There's always something in there.
yeah.
On to the budget level, page 1.
I have a question on line, 510, 4600, 525510, 525510, about 2/3 of the way down. North Star Data Voice Outage Management. Now, that's a system that we just
Discussed.
have trialed, I think, for about, what was it, 3 months or so?
No, that is not that. What we're in trial now is the IUC call management system. That is going very well. They're taking our
I think we're talking about the same thing. If you want to call in and report an outage, right?
right the after hours call center is what we're
Okay,
yeah.
so-
That's separate.
Is that what we're talking about
That's
here?
no that's on another line somewhere. I think we had 30,000.
Okay, well, what is this then?
This is the outage management system I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to ask a question about the other system where people call in and to give information or get information about an outage. How's that going?
It's going very well. And actually, it's costing us less than we thought. Of course, we haven't been into a disaster situation like we did in October 2020? But that would really test it then. But it's working for us and water. They're doing both calls for us.
And
It's
is
working
that
very well.
number publicized on the website?
Yes. All our citizens call, and they give us a report every day of what they received, some comments, and how it was fixed. And they're good at this, where a customer calls in, they have a power outage in an apartment. They're very good at saying, hey, you need to check your external breaker, and that saves us a truck roll. They'll walk the customer through that.
So people are happy.
I think so. I don't know if y'all heard any feedback, but I'm very pleased with it so far.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the line he was referring to, or another system?
That's another one.
Okay, what is, yeah, I'd like to know what this one is, that he was, the 5510 North Star data.
That was what I was explaining a while ago, the outage management system, where it would track our power outages and display them on a map, and we can run reports on our power outages.
Okay, and that's just for your folks?
Right.
Okay, so they have that on their phone and.
Well, citizens can access this too via an app. So if they want to know, hey, what's out in the city, they can get on this app and map, and they'll show areas that's out.
Okay,
When will that be implemented?
I will probably present it in August or September to you.
Okay, well, so, I mean, I guess usually you have a thunderstorm or some wind and something goes out down a couple of streets. This sends an indicator that it's out. I'm assuming the first line is, people call in and say, hey, the lights are out. So this just kind of is a redundant version of that.
Well, yeah, we already get notifications from our advanced meters by email, so this will place it on the map and let us know where it's out to, and we can access it, or the citizens can access it. So there's other features in it that you have to see when I do the presentation. But,
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that. It sounds.
It's
very
something
high
I've been
tech.
looking at for years. I just kept putting it aside till
Is
we
this a
got through the
one-time only?
pandemic.
We won't have to pay this every year?
Oh, no,
Okay, all right, okay.
Any other questions on page 1? Moving on to page 2.
I see in one of the 5790s, the Buffington Road Lighting, Georgia Power, we're paying part of that. Is that our jurisdiction, or is that?
That's Georgia Powers, but we agreed to pay for the lighting at that roundabout they're putting there, so that's part of it.
Okay, so we pay for the lighting there even though we don't pull the.
The same as if you're on Old National and you're going west on Godby. We're doing the same there. We've been doing it for several years.
Yeah, all right.
Additional questions on page 2?
Since you're looking at this stuff, one of the things I used to talk about is, when I drive around, I'd see your guys sometimes not wearing their gloves. And I always worry about that. And then I always say to myself, I almost want to just roll down the window and say, hey, put your gloves on, because I always worry about that stuff. They're dealing with some pretty hefty stuff. And I just worry the minute, one of them cuts their hand open and, severs their nerves, then they're coming to us and, the first thing I'm going to say, did they have their gloves on? And where's that cut glove?
Right.
And just keep reminding them, because I see, and I know guys, they don't want to wear the gloves, but this, I always want to remind you of that because I see it a lot of the time. So try to remind them.
Questions on page 2? Any additional ones? Page 3. Page 4. Page 5.
Page 5. Yeah, the Mayor, I have a question up near the top on line 537010. XF25 underground thumper. What is an underground?
Yeah, what that is, if we have a failed underground primary cable, we can hook this to it, and it will send a pulse of volts through that cable, and we can actually walk along the ground and hear where the thump's at, and that will show where the fault's at, where the damage is at, so we can dig it out right there.
Is this an acoustical thing or an
Yeah, it puts out like a capacitor charge on the cable, and when it does,
it'll jump and you'll get a spark and you hear the spark.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So you can actually see where the break is underground.
That's right. Yeah.
Even though it's within the conduit sleeve.
Right.
And find the break and then dig there and cut there.
Yes.
Well, that is something.
Any other questions on page 5? Moving on to page 6.
I've got a question about 7710. You're talking about projects, the Diamond multifamily, the Road Street. Does this include cost for West Fayetteville Road where they're adding all of those?
Yeah, that's under the Summersby subdivision.
That's under that?
Summersby, yeah.
Okay.
And that's part 1. We assume it's going to go in probably to the next budget too.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. I was looking at it as something else. All right.
Any other questions on page 6?
6 West subdivision, 7110. So obviously, I guess you know, loading up for the upcoming capacity or whatever have you. So is part 2 gonna be they're about equal to that amount?
It will be. I just split it up.
Okay. Is there a budget item for whatchamacallit, that, the Rockland Homes, the 300 houses?
Yes, that's under the Hawthorne Station. Hawthorne
Station. Got it.
subdivision
Right,
service
that's
line,
right.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the warehouse. Questions on page 1?
Where we at? The warehouse?
Yes, sir.
You know, at some point, I thought ultimately we were gonna move that warehouse at some point, just due to the volume of business in Main Street and the whole nine and stuff, and I'd always thought it was gonna come out to Sullivan Road, you know, the where, you know, the other.
We call it 1060.
But now with Moody's coming out there, I guess is that just an
That's-
impossibility now?
In my opinion, that warehouse is just too far out there. We wish we could be more centrally located and have an office and a warehouse at the same location, and maybe that might happen one day. But until then, we'll use 1060.
Okay.
No questions on 1.
Moving on to page 2.
Nothing
Pretty
on
straightforward
2.
on page 2.
Nothing on 2.
Budget level, page 1,
Nothing.
page 2.
Nothing.
Moving on to customer service.
Council, that concludes strategic goal number 4, public safety, and we're going to start some of strategic goal 5 with governance tonight. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. How are you, Ms. Keith?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks.
Okay, how many folks are in this budget?
12.
I can't.
12.
12, okay.
Questions on page 1?
Nope.
Convenience fees, what were those? Just curious.
I'm sorry?
Convenience fees that we had in 2021?
The first line item.
Yeah,
Oh, that should have been under, all along, under the power budget. It was just coded incorrectly. There is a convenience fee. That's the fee for,
For paying online.
That's a credit card fee.
yeah.
oh, okay, all right, okay.
But it's been moved to the power, under power budget revenue, which we just recoded it.
Okay. What is the fee nowadays for online pay?
I believe it's $4.95.
$4.95, right.
$4.95? Okay. Has that
Any other-
increased over time, or has it just been pretty level, or?
It just recently increased once we changed to payment systems.
You changed systems? So better system, I guess, right?
Yes, and the old system no longer supported what we needed, so we had to move it. We were forced to move.
Okay, all right.
Additional questions on page 1?
51, 50, 10, I had a question.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
51, 50, 10.
51, 50, 10.
First line.
Okay.
The question is, in year 2023, it goes from the actual this year, 269, and I think what our fiscal year ends in June, correct?
Correct.
So you go up to 533, that's about a 40% increase?
Well, we have had temps. So if you look under contractual, you'll see about $97,000. So basically, if we were fully staffed, we would basically be meeting the budget appropriation. It's because we're using temps. We don't account for temps under salaries. It's contractual.
So the 533 is more in line with what was reasonable and customary.
Yes, that's without the 5%, the 5% across the board.
Okay.
Councilman, I can hardly hear you when, let me ask, do we have, are there separate volumes for the microphones? Because maybe his is just a little bit low, because I can
I'm
barely hear
being
his.
sabotaged because they don't want me to talk. So every time I talk, I think the voice thing gets cut down.
Chevelle, well, I'm
I can
just,
hear you now.
I don't
Can you
think
hear
it's
me
a
now?
conspiracy.
Yeah, you're clear now.
Are there,
I can talk loud, believe me.
are there separate volume controls for each of our mics?
No,
No.
They're not.
it's just one.
Okay, I was just wondering. That's it. Okay, well, all right.
Any other questions on page 1? Moving on to page 2.
Contractual services, 6170.
Is that pay-go? Come
What-
on up here.
Those are the
What
tests.
page are you on, Joe?
This is page 2.
Two of three, 526170.
That is, we're looking at the prepay system again. Remember, Councilman Conway talked about this like 6 years ago, where customers will pay their bill in advance instead of a monthly bill. So we're going to look at that in the next budget. And that is software cost,
Prepay?
prepay.
Okay, so we're gonna be rolling that out?
Where we're going to present it, we'll see.
Conceptually, just give me the 2 sentence quick, what it.
Well, basically, it's a software package to where a customer can pay anywhere online anywhere at a store somewhere, anytime they want to. And it gives them a account balance in advance. And if they run out of money, then the power cuts off automatically. Ideal for like things like apartments.
Kind of pay as you go?
Yeah. That's why it's called pay-go.
Okay. Is it a cheaper option per se? I mean, or is it?
I mean, yeah, there's only 2 companies I know of, but I mean, it all boils out to about the same as far as what it costs. There are some fees involved. We can charge the fees back to the customer. Most of this cost here is just the software.
Okay. Well, I guess
There is no cost, unlike let's say I don't pay my power bill and I'm cut off, then we charge a fee to turn me back on. But if you're on this system and it cuts you off, let's say you've had a lean month and have been working odd jobs and what have you, and you don't have enough money to play, you should be able to go in on this system and know how much you have left.
And it gives you alerts too.
And it gives you alerts, and then you can say, well, I'll run the air conditioning a little warmer for a while until I get caught up so it doesn't cut me off. But if it does cut you off, you don't have to pay to get yourself turned back on again, right?
That's right.
So it allows the customer to more flexibly manage their usage and not have to pay those fees.
And there's usually no deposit involved there. We have 2 employees at my office that have their power at another location. They're on the system, they love it. They got on it because they didn't want to pay a $200 or $300 deposit. But since they're on it, they're really loving it. So it lets them know, kind of manage their money a little bit better with this system.
I'm assuming conceptually, keep folks from running out, leaving us holding the bill.
That's another benefit, exactly.
Well, is it something, so we're gonna talk about rolling it out, it's coming up on a workshop or something, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions on page 2?
Postage, 5270, 300. are we still, I guess, well, we farm out the bills themselves. We don't stuff them and all that stuff anymore. I know we hadn't done that in a while, but is this that, or is this other office postage here, 35?
No, that is the third party that mails out our utility bills.
Okay. I remember that was a bigger number years ago, more like the 60,000.
It is. It's 65,000. We have it split, the 7,300 and the 7,320 for the envelope stationery.
Oh,
Because they do
okay.
send an itemized bill as far as like what they're charging us for, so we just,
Okay, I was gonna say it's significantly lower than what I was used to.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains that. So you just split it up?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions on page 2? Moving on to page 3. All right, moving on to the budget level, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. All right, on to meter reading.
I'd like to just say one thing. I'd like to thank customer service for the job they've done over the last several years with the pandemic being here, not being here, the office being open, the office not being open, you know, the city hall. So thank you very much for the work that your team has done.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Sorry, I just had to say that.
Questions on page 1 of meter reading?
Question. I know the meter readers that bounced around from Hugh to you guys, and I've seen it every which way. So they're under.
Yes,
Customer
but Hugh
service.
is managing the meter reader out on the field.
Okay. And these are the same folks in this budget?
3, yeah, there's 3 meter readers.
Okay.
Questions on page 1? Page 2.
Yeah, I've got a question about gas and oil. I mean, it's not much money, but it seems to have jumped quite a bit. 53,700. Is there a reason?
No, there's no reason. I think it needs to be adjusted down to 1,200.
To 1,200?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that should be sufficient.
On to page 1 of the budget level. Page 2. And page 3. All right. I think that concludes the departments that we have for the evening.
Yes.
Ms. Tyus, did you want to add anything?
Look forward to seeing you Thursday as we present the final departmental budgets that you've not seen for the goal of governance. And we're also going to entertain economic development on Thursday as we did not cover them in the first round.
I have a comment.
Look forward.
And since the budget is over, since we have you here, that was a direction from council as part of our council packages. As part of our council packages, that was a direction from council to get the city managers' financials as part of our package. That was a direction from mayor and council before you joined us. I would like for us to continue that practice. Mercedes, you had asked you to do it. You did it one time and you stopped, city finance director. You were here when we asked for that direction. You used to provide it. So we would like to have those city manager spending reports, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great night, everybody.